The Siberian Black Army. I'm pretty sure I actually played this one in my free time. It's what inspired me to make this whole thing. I don't think I recorded a video on it. I'm not sure though. I might have. Okay, I looked at my history. It does not seem like I played it on the channel, but I'm pretty sure I did play it by myself. I'm almost sure. Because it's like one of the cooler looking ones. But little history. The Siberian Black Army rose in the bleak days of the Siberian War. As the Central Siberian Republic's authority withered and decayed, the Black Army was created by men like Pyotr Siuda and Ivan Stepanov, formed of Soviet defectors, simple peasants, and rogue army officers. The newly formed army managed to repel the Republic and take the area surrounding the city of Kansk, forming a state based around the principles of militarized anarchism. Inspired by men such as Nestor Manko, the Siberian Black Army is a society dedicated to freedom and to self-defense. The army itself is asserting little authority beyond what is needed for self-defense, and membership is a choice. The people are largely free to do as they please. Even still, the Black Army's influence grows more with each passing season, and many worry it soon dominate the communes, creating a military dictatorship in all but name. So there's like a lot of debuffs. We get a few buffs out of it. Pretty nice buffs over here. So it's really like out of most of these states, like these probably have like some of the best buffs. Cause like, well, I don't know. Maybe it's because what did I play last time? It was like crap. It was the other. It's Samara. Let's look for it. Right here. They they had a lot of bad ones. Yeah. This one. But like both of these are just terrible. But I'll get on with it. Wait, this has its own thing? Okay, it's just basically saying the same thing. They're a military force that like try to like mix basically like their control and also socialist control and also anarchist. That's pretty cool. It's like very different from anything I've done so far. Crushed between the eagle and the hammer. The people of the borderlands between central Siberia and the far east suffered as yet more men were sent to die for the visions of their leaders. As the war dragged on between these two behemoths, whispers of an alternative began to be heard. Pyotr Siuda, an anarchist, a skilled orator, made impassioned speeches before his countrymen, calling for freedom from war and those who send men off to die in it. These words soon found a vast audience, and the war-weary people began chanting for an end to all forms of oppression. The pieces were set in place. With a final act of rebellion, the people stood up against their oppressors and shook off the chains. But zeal alone would not win them freedom. Without sufficient weapons and manpower, the rebellion was unlikely to succeed. An unlikely alliance. Fate works in strange ways. In another life, General Ivan Stepanov of the Central Siberian Republic's army would have most likely only seen Soida from the end of a long rifle. Yet, by pure chance, the two were able to strike a deal. Stepanov would provide the military power, and Soida would bring his popular support to the table. Stepanov's soldiers would form the backbone of the new Black Army, a force that could defend the communes from the aggression of surrounding states. Empowered by the the general's military power, the Free Territory at last established itself in an independent land far from the grip of any state. As the great states of the east and west fell into warlordism, the people of Kansk and the surrounding communes at last found peace and prosperity. It was the job of the Free Territory's military and ideological leaders to ensure that it lasts. A contradictory territory. Yeah, basically this is just like the Black Army is obviously a Security Council, and it goes basically against what what is communism basically like, or communes like what anarchism is like. It's a necessary evil though, so they can keep power. And this is Sweden. He basically is like he was born in Bukharin, Russia, and he kind of sucked, but he wanted a different kind of leadership, not czar fascist. And then this is the Ivan Stepanov, the frick. Why am I in my debug menu? I'm not even bugged up. Okay. I know now why I was in the debug menus, because I was making the thumbnail for the last video. I had to annex some areas to make it look prettier for the thumbnail. But basically, oh shoot. So basically, Stepanov is just a opportunist. He is just with these guys because it's a better shot than being with the Republic, and dual power never lasts long with Russia. Whose side will win out in the end? That's what we'll be finding out. I feel like I don't know. I feel like 11 areas. I feel like most of the time people would go with just anarcho happy communism. I don't know though if I should do the other path, because that's not what people like do too often, or should I just do what I have fun with? I'm leading more to that, because the last game was really not that fun. I just want to have a nice fun game. If that makes any sense to y'all. The most grand of experiments. Here we are. Potre Studa brought the vehicle to a halt. His hand hovered slightly over the keys. His body suddenly drained of motivation and energy. From the cracked and the snow-covered building, a smile crept across his face. It never ceased to amaze him. People, hundreds of them, men and women alike, had attached themselves to the anarchist movement. The most grand experiment in human history. Potre sat and watched and watched and watched. It was as if the car had turned a 5-mile drive into a journey into an alternate reality. Boo! A hand pressed against the window, stirring Potre from his motionless... Potre looked to his left, grinning like a child. The woman kept her hand against the window for stability, leaning to get a look inside the vehicle. Are you ready to go? Potre shrugged. Sure, he was ready to speak before the people. If he had a seed for every speech he gave, he could feed all of Russia with one garden. There was something off, despite how routine it seemed. You're lost in thought again, the woman said, shifting her weight from one foot to another. If you were anyone else, I'd ask you what's on your mind, but I know. The woman averted her gaze from Potre. The two men in silence. Not two men, but two people sat in silence. The woman took a deep breath. Come on, Potre. They need you in there. Potre suddenly supposed she was right. She usually was. With a grunt, he was able to heave himself up from his seat and open the door, stepping out into the anarchy. Let's not keep them waiting then, Yevengia. He's going to give a good... convene the General Assembly. That's what he's got to do. There sat a podium and 7 chairs. The members of the Security Council had already taken their seats and left the podium, free to its most frequent occupants. Free people of Russia, Potre shouted from his spot, his mere 4 words ascending the assembled masses into cheers. I have promised to Ivan that I would be brief in my opening remarks, and we know it's wise to avoid irritating him. Potre turned his back to the chairs, flashing a thumbs up to not to amused Ivan Stepanov. So let's say this. Even if the meeting is fruitless, know that every day that we live without the rising sun, torture, swastika flying over us, we have won. Liberation, one meeting at a time. This was just basically like a bunch of crap. Like just him being happy to be in the room and stuff. But about to get cooked in here, because we're about to have to go into an freaking not backing down, but we're going to try to stall it out. Maybe get out of this. I just wanted to say I went to the economy. Oh my, 122% of our GDP. Dude, what? Wait, maybe it doesn't matter since we're anarchists? Wait, I don't feel like it should matter, right? They don't use money, do they? I would need to learn more about anarchism, but like, I thought the whole thing is like, they don't. It's like a moneyless society. Or am I... Unless they're not fully anarchist. No, they're anarcho-communists, so maybe they do use a little bit of money. Like, I don't know. But I don't know how I'm supposed to drag myself out of a 122% freaking yearly deficit. Oh, that's pretty bad. I'm gonna say it doesn't even matter because I don't even have a credit rating. So I'm going full in, dude. Why not? If I collapse the economy, I collapse the economy. So basically, this guy, the Stepanov guy, he just stamp, lick, seal, envelope after envelope. Ivan Stepanov repeated the same mantra to keep pace. After the 20th envelope, he fell into the rhythm of a record player, droning in the background. Stamp to the 8th note. Lick the quarter, seal it in half. No, seal to half. Ivan appreciated patterns. They say patterns finding is what makes people human. It was nice to feel human now and then between being a glorified mailbox, taking in the information from different Black Army detachments and sending back responses. Yeah, so basically, the only reason they're like straying in power and command structure is because of the Ivan and the Black Army. So, but he's been everywhere along the Western Front, receiving distinction in his struggle against the Finns, and as the Union collapsed, so did he, breaking down in Kansk, his hometown. Yeah, but the old man nodded, holding his hands behind him. Chepanov will be late, but that means he'll show up as Sudio does. The line brought a smirk across to Stepanov. They did not need the boy for military matters, but Valentiv had instead insisted. Without the Security Council, the Free Territory would be in chaos. Truth. They're both pretty needed, I bet. The city of Oz. Nadia reached out to touch her breath as it hung in the air before her. She attempted to bottle the gas, capture it in her fur mittens, and take it with her, to no avail. Nadia was surely smart enough to know that one could not capture the air they breathe and stow it away for later, and if she wasn't, her grandfather who walked beside her certainly could have. There was just a certain magic to the city of Kansk, an indescribable feeling. As long as she kept to the sidewalk of the city, anything could happen. Look here, Albin gestured to one of the infant identical gray shops. I don't know if she still lives here, but there was a woman. Albin trailed off on one of his short stories again. Nadia rolled her eyes. It was all he spoke about in the past. Every rock seemed to remind him of a different person, who would remind him of an experience which would remind him of a battle. Didn't he see what was in front of him? They were in Kansk City, the city of the revolution, the first stepping stone in a global movement of liberation. How incredible! Well, her grandfather said, mercifully wrapping up his story. I don't know what ever happened to Svetlana. Can't remember if she was the one who went out to try to join the fascist party or if she was the one who ran and won in Tomsk. Either way, all I remember is that you had to spit in her soup just to give it some flavor. Nadia giggled. That's all she needed to hear. She took her grandfather's arm and linked elbows with him. She looked at her guardian, a man of many battles, and wondered, did he do it all for this very moment, where two people could walk down in the street undisturbed, unwatched, and unexploited? Albin had to have killed men before. She could tell by the way his hand twitched any time somebody passed them. But she looked up to him, as she always did, and smiled. They were safe and free, and in Kansk no less. All the bloodshed in Russia is worth this moment. And that was very sweet. I'm gonna do the good path of non-despotism, just because, like, I hope I see more of them. That was really cute. The haunting of Kansk Elementary School. The scratch of chalk against the board produced a ghastly sound. Mr. Abramov scratched out a circular shape, drew a thin line among the bottom, put a triangle above the line, and closed out his articulations by planting two dots on the left and right of the triangle. The elderly man turned out to the class of young boys and girls. What do you think? Did I give Ilya Repin a run for his money? Silence from the class. Oh, you may be a little too young for that one. The old man chuckled. Okay, how about now? Above the Frankensteinian mess of shapes, Mr. Abramov wrote something resembling the word Nikolai, his arthritis sabotaging his efforts, making the word look more like chicken scratches. The pieces finally came together. As beneath the circle, he wrote Bukharin. Oh, I know that guy. My mom has a painting of him. He was the man who fought the Germans and gave us the big factories we have today. One eager child sprung up to his seat and proudly displaying his knowledge. That's not true, Igor. My dad was there, you know. He lived in Moscow. He saw Bukharin's secret police firsthand, how they would just take you right off the street if you were being bad. My dad calls him a tyrant. Your dad sounds like an idiot, the schoolboy retorted. My mom would have made him clean the bathrooms if she heard him talk like that at our house. The classroom exploded into argument, with factions of children forming about legacy of a man long dead. I love to see this kind of stuff. It just makes me so happy. Like, not even happy, but like, I'm just like, bro, what do you know about politics? You're literally like 5 years old. What do you think, Mr. Abramov? Was Bukharin a bad guy? Or was he a good guy, like my mom says? The old man scratched at his whiskers, quieting the students as he contemplated his answer. Finally, after what seemed like centuries, the old man reached his conclusion. All he did was shrug. He's just a guy. Enemies defeated, and you know what? Since they try to raid me, I'm raiding them. Bam. Where's the raid at? Come on. What? Oh, they paid the tribute because I beat them. Sucks to suck, loser. But, yeah. Oh, here's the modern Beauregard. He walked through the lands under the control of the Siberian Black Army. He had entered the Free Territory the previous day, continuing deeper into Siberia. He had passed through many villages in the territory, helping where he could in exchange for food and supplies. Though in one more special remote village, though in the more remote villages he was often run out of town as a grifter. Night fell, and he set up camp in a small copse of trees. As his fire crackled in the night, he looked up to the sky. It was awash with stars, more than he had ever seen before. Before his exile, soon the sound of the fire lulled him to sleep. The memories came, then twisted by his mind and laid bare before him. He saw flashes under the glorious reign of the Nazi Party, the camaraderie and nationalistic fervor that became fact of life for the Reich citizens. He saw his mother, proud and beautiful, laid low by an illness that poisoned her blood. He remembered the doctor's face sneering about her impure ancestry. It was the last he saw of her before his conscription. Serve the fatherland and its army, or die like the mutt you are, boy. The words of the Gestapo agent echoed in his mind. His father, a proud soldier of the Reich, was arrested for polluting the Aryan gene pool and his wife's Jewish ancestry. He got the news of his execution on the front of the West Russian War. Finally, it came to his victims. The brutality of the fighting in West Russia would stay with him for the rest of his life. He knew that, but he was the reprisal operations that truly haunted him. Villages depopulated by his unit, the men rounded up and shot, begging their families to be spared. The women and children were locked in their homes, in their churches, and burned. He could hear their screams, still judging and condemning him. With a shout, his eyes shot open, and he looked around in a panic. After he calmed himself, he packed up and resumed his journey. It will never be enough. Damn, that's like the most lore I've heard about this guy. Usually he just comes in. The economics, troubled thoughts. Fucking hell, dude, this guy's name. Kilchachakov fought with his steak, ripping at the chewy, undercooked meat. The bread rolls fared a little better, nearly dislodging one of his teeth with the stiffness of the roll. The vegetables may have been the worst. They had been cooked to perfection, but his wife's vegetables of choice was, of course, onions. He was deathly allergic to onions. Yet, Yekaterina looked at him with a look of disappointment. You've barely touched your food, Mikhail. Well, it certainly touched me, and beaten me, and nearly taken my teeth in life, Kilchikov remarked, leaning back in his chair in defeat. Yekaterina set down her fork and dabbed at him, while looking at him, dabbed her lip with a napkin. I thought it was delicious. The room was silent. It was time for a different line of questioning. How was your day today? It was easy to give her husband to talk about himself. If all else failed, she could always rely on that. Kilkachev stared into space for some time. Despite the simple question, his wife simply sat and observed him. You were there, right? You met Bukharin when he came to Novosibirsk, right? Kilchikov already knew the answer to that. A photograph of the three of them was sitting in the foyer. Of course, his wife laughed. I don't know how you could have missed the man. He was larger than life. Mikhail nodded for a while, letting his partner's words echo. Do you remember all the things they said about him? Even then, Yekaterina was struck by the same silence that had taken her husband. I suppose I do. They never really had a pleasant opinion of him here, did they? Mikhail's hand suddenly shot out and grabbed his wife's, prompting a gasp from her. He stared deeply into her eyes. What will they say about me, Kat? When I am dead and my economic policies have run their course, will they curse my name as we do his? The rest of the dinner was silent. Truth. We're going for the people's justice. So, man, there's not a good stability hit. I don't like that. So he does, no matter what, socialism gets hurt. I guess we're also adding all these people into our land, so it makes sense. Also, I'm not for sure if I was recording it, but I did get out of the economic freaking turmoil I was in. I was rocking complete GDP stagnation, and also was in a financial crisis. So I got out of it though. Dude, it's so like I can't even do anything really. Like, I guess I can up my science stuff because I really need to. But partying like it's 1914. Pyotr Studia hoisted his glass high into the air, the alcohol spilling out over the sides. He felt light, like he was riding on a cloud. Pyotr had promised himself as a boy that he would never fall into the temptation of alcoholism that had taken his father before him. This felt like an exception. He would surely regret it in the morning, and would be quick to scold Yevhengia for allowing him to partake in Stepanov's seemingly never-ending supply of booze, acquired through means unknown to Pyotr. For now, that did not matter. Pyotr, his glass still high in the air, spoke in slurred speech. Comrades! The usual suspects turned to him. Yevhengia, Stepanov, Valentiv, and even Mishrenko had come to join him. I think, Pyotr trailed off, his eyes seemingly fixed on something in the distance. Do you? Badgered Stepanov? It doesn't really seem like it at the moment. Yevhentia playfully slapped Stepanov's arm. Oh, be nice. It's his first time. Let the boy celebrate a little. Now we've accomplished a great victory. Valentiv raised his glass to give us a toast. No doubt about that. He gulped down the better contents of his glass. We have all done something incredible here. There is no turning back now. Mishrenko interjected, his drink untouched. We will either retire in Moscow as heroes or die here as a mere stepping stones to the next regime. A footnote in history of Russia. The trio looked at the old general with unamusement. Let's not think that far ahead. Tartuta said, tracing her finger around the outline of her glass. Today we have won, and nothing else matters. So we can unlock order. So I'm not sure if I showed this, but like, yeah, you gotta like have decisions, and you gotta sway people to your side. Like certain people like certain things. So it's kind of cool. But yeah, this isn't good. Instability is critical. That's not bad. That's bad. Well-being for all. The halls of the General Assembly had been packed, as they always were. Like most days, there was a steady flow of people from all walks of life coming to voice their grievances or put forth motions. Unlike most days, these people included many from the Militant Kunsky Union demanding immediate meetings with the Security Council. The Security Council, of course, agreed. The foreman, Vitaly Kostin, began with a clarifying and carefully rehearsed speech. We, on behalf of the workers of Central Siberia, demand that the Siberian plants militarization be reversed immediately, now that our region is at peace and the free territory is not under threat. Quotas should be decreased immediately and production diverted away from the military. I'm sure you see no problem with this. Studa was the first to speak. Of course not, Comrade Kostin. The people of Siberia deserve prosperity, especially after all they've endured. And I'm sure everyone here agrees. There was quite a murmur of agreement from the room. Yet Ivan Stepanov spoke over it. Comrade Kostin, I can understand your concerns, he began. It would be fucking hell, dude. Dude, I'm telling you, English is my first language. And this game, more than anything I've ever read in my life, has had me look up words. But obviously the word's unconscionable for the free territory to continue this. While, as you say, not under threat, Kostin was dissatisfied with this. The Security Council seemed to be far more receptive to the plight of the workers than the previous business and governments he had dealt with. Unfortunately, Stepanov continued, that is not the situation we find ourselves in. To the west and east, bloodthirsty warlords run the land, and to the south, the imperialists in Japan do very much the same. Even with the Central Siberia, the defeatists and Stalinists lick their wounds and prepare to strike. Comrade Kostin, the free territory must make sacrifices or we lose everything we fought for. This drove a divide in the Security Council. Though the Black Army has always fought for the people of Russia, was a harsh place, and these values may prove meaningless if they are defeated at the hands of a despot or a warmonger. But all the decisions had to be made when the time came. The Security Council approves Comrade Kostin's motion. Oh, dang it. Yeah, I'll do that. I don't want the stability going tits up, though. Oh, it didn't really affect it too badly. And we're removing the financial crisis. Let's go. This was 700 days, so I'm finally at least not dying. But into a better tomorrow, and we have this path. We get some socialist solidarity. A pained plea. Sophia smiled politely as she walked up to the podium, her heels clicking on the floor. Her snow-white fur coat and crimson-red lips was a sharp contrast to the suited, at best, in rags at worst, audience. She fiddled with the papers, smiling awkwardly to the Security Council, her pearly white teeth nearly blinding many of its members. Pyotr gave her a nod, and the blonde-haired woman began speaking. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of Kansk. My name is Sofia Petrova. I was a wealthy upstart from the city of Tomsk. She paused for a second, trying to gauge the audience's reaction. My life revolved around administrating my father's business, caring for my two lovely girls, and expanding my knowledge with the night classes I attended, all three of which were taken from me. Sophia's smile flickered for just a second, like the flame of a candle being blown on. I'm not here to give you kind of folks my sob story, the woman said, retrieving a silk handkerchief from her pocket and dabbing at her crystal blue eyes. I'm here to say there is good in the world, that not everyone in that city was evil. I have wholeheartedly accepted that this is simply the way things go, you know. The woman laughed, a little too hard, to the audience. Sophia did not miss a single beat. She continued on. I know you guys are angry and you want justice. I want justice too. But I ask you show mercy in your justice. Tomsk was pillaged. We lost almost everything. We are willing not to only live within this land, but love it. We yearn to experience your brotherhood. But my only caution, Sophia offered a pathetic half smile, let the people build equally. Don't thrust it upon them. Sophia descended on the podium, her head down as she returned to her seat. She crossed her legs and put on her biggest grin. She knew in some communes they would have shot her for just saying she administered a business. All she could do was look to the members of the council and await their justice. Let's see, how bad is the stability right now? So we're dying on stability, and this would bring us up 40 to 80 instability, which would be really bad. So the people must decide their fate. I know it hurts that, but like, we just cannot deal with instability. we're passing laws in the General Assembly. I'm trying to like make people vote, I guess, promoted voting and then protected rights and stuff. These people are very against everything. It feels like they do not very. Yeah, I don't know. They're not very united. But I guess it's the free territory, so can't really expect anarchists to be really united in much. Deal? I've been going down the industry path. Fidel adjusted his collar. He at least wanted to look nice, even if they wouldn't. Fucking this guy's name, Poiter, had given him instructions ad nauseum. If he hadn't been for a snowstorm, Studa would have been here himself, but it didn't work out that way. Whatever, Fidel thought. He wasn't even sure which concessions to grant them. They lived in an anarchist society. What did they want? More freedoms? Fidel pushed open the door to the meeting room. He sighed, setting all the papers and coffee on the table. "Afternoon, gentlemen," he said, pulling back a chair and plopping down into it. They didn't look like the radicals that they had been described as. They just looked like men who worked on electrical boxes and factories. Then again, when one lives amongst the most radical, nothing really stands out or off kilter. I understand you're looking to... No, I take that back. You tell me why you're here. The leader of the organization began an obviously rehearsed speech. We, the workers of Siberia, have demanded one thing since the first resolution: to not be slaves, to be seen as equals. We are the ones who provide everything to keep the society operating smoothly. If we go... Fidel cut the man off. Strike. Yes, I know. I don't really understand your perspective. What more can we offer you than total freedom? The foreman shook his head. It's more than just freedom. It's about representation as well. If you don't want to grind this free territory to a standstill, you'll permit the creation of an intercommunal body of trade unions, one that will be able to petition the General Assembly as they wish, and can strike without fear of the Black Army retaliation. Fidel tinkered with the idea in his mind a bit. It wasn't a small order, but it didn't seem like something Studa would be opposed to. Fidel stood and extended a hand. "I think we have a deal," Mr. Fidel glanced to the foreman's name tag. "Mr. Kostin, deal. And now we get 10-hour work days, and they can actually petition and not hate their lives. It's pretty great. I like my workers not hating their lives." Courtesy call. I just did this one. Was that the right to well-being? I did one of the focuses. I don't really remember. This part of the Russian playthrough is very zone outy, but courtesy call. In the bustling city of Novosibirsk, people don't see people. Surely they saw people, but not what they truly were. They saw fur coats and hats. They didn't see the people that they walked past. Such was the nature of the metropolis. Even in the anarchistic society, Thalmir didn't like that. Surely people weren't hardwired to hate each other. The success of the free territory proved that. People cared about other people. That's what he told himself as he shivered outside the busiest store in the city he could find. Or busiest, he didn't acknowledge as people walked past. While he struggled to get up, he didn't find it troubling when nobody stopped to inquire why he was outside of a business with a table and poster board in the middle of a snowy evening. He knew that once his booth was set up, people would fill the streets with lines eager to contribute. Hours passed. Thalmir sipped at his coffee to keep himself warm as people passed. He watched them all. He tried to notice them, just to see if they would notice him. Something about the city vexed people. They were focused on what they were doing and where they were going, what they needed to purchase and nothing more. Perhaps maybe it was just they needed a little nudge. All social change needed little nudges. "Good evening. I have been collecting names for the charity my commune's organizing." The woman, obviously annoyed, but trying to avoid confrontation, smiled. "Oh, that's very admirable. I wish you the best." She attempted to continue on her way, but was stopped by the tight grip of a man's hand. "You see, ma'am, there's a troubling sickness plaguing this city, and many others, that of negligence and inaction. While we may enjoy the comforts of living, is it supposed to be city living, I'm guessing, but they put sitting living on accident. There are many of our comrades fighting for their lives on the frontier. I believe that it is our duty to provide for our fellow brothers and sisters, no matter where they are from." The woman recoiled, obviously shaken. She looked around for support, someone to free her from the clutches of the man grabbing her in the middle of the plaza, but found people continuing as they were, unbothered. She frowned, not because of her situation, but because nobody had even acknowledged it. She furrowed her brow and turned back to the man at the table. "How can I help?" Yeah, I don't know. I think cities will always be like, every time I've been to a city, it's been like that. Unless, you go to like a very minor, small city. What does the status say? Teaching was a natural calling to Nikolai. Many were in it for the status, or because their fathers had been teachers before them, and their fathers before them. In the days of the Tsar, some moaned and groaned as they got the privilege of being forced into it by their affluent parents. Imagine that today, a Russian fighting and cursing because he had to get an education. Most would kill a man just to know how to read. That was precisely the reason Nikolai did what he did, because he found people and their unending quest for knowledge fascinating. Even the more brutest Black Army soldiers had questions. That's what kept them human, even as they gunned down their enemies. When the General Assembly made a general call for the teachers or for those willing to become them, Nikolai rushed to answer, which was precisely how he ended up in Kansk, the city transformed from the beating heart of the territory to just another city. Nikolai found the prospect of the city, of the revolution, being lost to history, a terrifying one, and noted he ought to make it one of the main subjects of his daily lesson. "Mr. Zolin," his pupils cried as he entered the room. The humble teacher wasted no time getting into the lesson, picking up the chalk and drawing a hammer and sickle on the board. The hammer and sickle, the symbol of not only Bukharin but of Yagoda. Separately, these tools mean nothing, but when they are put together, what do they represent? They show the common tools of the worker united. This sounds on the surface level like something we ought to rally behind. However, Nikolai paused for dramatic effect, prompting his students to look up from their notes and meet his eyes. This is a prime example of what we must be most aware of. The state will wear many clothes to try and trick you into becoming their puppet. There is only one symbol that represents freedom, and that is the people in hand, nothing else. Teach them well, and all will be well. That's the status of the Yagoda right here, and the status of fucking Slavosvas, because what even is this country? I don't know so far. I guess I'll learn later. The People's Militia. Comrade Valentiv sloppily scribbled his signature on the last of the heap of papers precariously stacked on the desk. Approvals, denials, resupply requests. Valentiv dealt with them all. Most generals despised the bureaucracy, and to some extent Valentiv was no different. Valentiv stretched an elastic band around the thick bundle of papers and went to toss them into the bin his secretary collected at the end of the night, but found it missing. He shrugged. Whatever, he had to walk past her anyways. Rising with a stretch, Valentiv snuggled. I've never heard that word. The papers under his armpit and exited the room. Right away, he could hear laughing, not uncommon, but certainly not normal for the office. Valentiv traveled down the hall and to the left, the voices of the lobby becoming audible. "See that scar? That's what you get from multiple campaigns. See, I shot a Red Army guy from 3 kilometers away. It was pretty impressive." On the desk leaned a recruit, badgering a very bored and disinterested secretary. It was clear he had been at it for some time, with little fruits for his labor. He's just trying to get this girl's attention. It ain't working. Valentiv sauntered up and plopped his papers on the counter. "Evening, comrade. I heard you shot a guy from 3 meters away." The disinterested newbie began to stammer out an explanation, but Valentiv only chuckled and held up a hand. No, that is extremely impressive. Why don't you show this fine lady here some of your shooting prowess?" Valentiv unholstered his weapon and thrust it into the boy's hand. "Here, shoot me, point blank." Valentiv stared deep into the boy's eyes, his smile replaced by a scowl. For some time the boy stood there, shaking before dropping the pistol to the ground. Valentin retrieved the weapon and returned it to his belt. That's what I thought. Listen, kid, the army isn't a place to pick up girls. You have an obligation to defend your commune and nothing else. I was ready to lay down my life for a point. That's what every man and woman in the Black Army swears to do. And if you can't do that, I advise packing your shit and leaving. Valentin nodded to the secretary, readjusting his cap, and briskly walked out of the door, leaving the stunned recruit pale as a ghost. A soldier must be devoted to his brothers, nothing else. An extra 5,000 manpower, nice. Lessons from the war. War ain't all War ain't all it's cracked up to be. Up you go, called his squad leader, holstering the scrawny Stefan onto the back of the vehicle. Stefan scuttled up the side of the vehicle, trying to get a look over the edges. All he got was a boot to the face. Watch it, barked one of the squad mates, trampling over the recruit as he took his seat. What the hell are you been doing? You look like a turtle on its shell with all that gear. What the hell was he doing? The question resonated with Stefan. He was only 17, had never held a gun for his life. It understood nothing of tactics, but what he lacked in military theory, he made up for in stories. The boy was in love with the idea of heroism, and what was more heroic than the army? Hey, the same squad mate called out. You gonna hump the side of the vehicle, or you gonna get out over here so the rest of the team can get on? Stefan nodded, lunging from the one side of the armored vehicle to the other. One with the benches. So what are you doing here? The burly man questioned. Well, Stefan cleared his throat. Well, I think I just wanted to help out. Yeah, well, you're doing a hell of a job, the seasoned veteran sneered. Stefan remained silent, only looking down. Hey, I'm just giving you shit. Where are you from? Novosibirsk, my dad. Stefan began to get choked up. Well, when the city came under attack, he tried to get the people of his factory to rise up, fight for something, and they shot him then and there. The man beside him nodded, understanding his story quite well. Your dad sounded like a brave man, Stefan nodded. The soldier patted him on the back. You seem like a good kid. The man extended his gloved hand. I'm Dominich. I'll help you get the ropes. What the state fears, a true camaraderie. Yeah, nothing, the damn status, you don't know nothing about brotherhood, right? I feel like I'm doing that. What is the government? I like this flag. I feel like I've been over here, but I just think the flag looks nice. Surrounded on all sides, Yevgenia Tortua vacantly stared out the window of the grand office of Pyotr Studia, the large crimson drapes covering bundled neatly on each side. The large glass contrasted the predominantly white color scheme of the room. It fit Pyotr very well, even if she thought the room was a little, big for him, as she put it. From all of her years accompanying Studia, Yevgenia knew one thing about the man. He was certainly larger than life. Her window gazing was interrupted by the sound of boots clicking on the floor. Pyotr was here. Sorry, Yevgenia, caught up at the Congress. I hope I didn't keep you waiting for too long. Pyotr removed his coat, hanging it up on the rack next to his desk. Oh no, Pyotr. No need to worry. I was just appreciating the view, she said, staring out into the city below them. A sight to behold, isn't it? Pyotr, as I look out over this horizon, I realize something, she said, holding her hands behind her back. This whole world wants us dead. Oh, Yevgenia, Studia joined her by the window. There's much more out there for us than hate. There's people who have enjoyed more freedom than ever before. People who are not dreading, but excited to raise a child in a new society. At the same time, there are so many still living under the authoritarian jackboot. Yevgenia could see his face tense up in reflection of the glass. Even if they want us dead, the fact only means we are doing something right, something we believe in. Yevgenia smiled and placed her hand on his cheek. You're a good man, Pyotr. You're doing good things. There's still many good things to do. That's a very sweet path, I feel like. Much better than, I don't know, what I've been doing, it feels like sometimes. The black dress. The wedding, though, long planned and looked forward to by most in attendance, was befitting the territory of the Black Army, and okay, anarchic fare. The brides arrived first, both on leave from the militias of their respective communes, and both also wearing matching black dresses emblazoned with the army sigils. The modifications, in order to allow them to comfortably sling their rifles, had been expertly integrated. The priests arrived soon. Second, his clerical uniform stained in submachine gun scuff from the day's entrenchment training, and the guests arrived third, each forming up behind their commune's bride and bearing the marks of their own daily militia activities. Although the communes agreed on the need for collective action against enemies without, in truth there were much tension between them, put aside only enough to ensure that this special moment for their respective daughters was not interrupted. In short order, the priest officiated, and the brides exchanged vows, both to the Black Army and to each other, before sealing them with a kiss. Cheers quickly turned into jeers, however, as with the ceremony itself now completed and the alcohol brought forward. Long-standing disputes emerged once again. One guest swung at another from the other commune, who responded by dislocating his arm. The priest struck a reveler with the thrown bottles, knocking him flat. A general brawl followed. Through all were careful not to use their weapons. They were, after all, allies in anarchism. As one bride broke the nose of her new wife's cousin, she laughed in delight before helping him to his feet, knowing that they would fight together against their communal enemies for many years to come. A strange wedding indeed. That is pretty silly. That's one of the more funny ones I've actually read on this. But man, on the artillery, it's so bad. Dang, how many more factories did I get? I didn't even realize. Alright, we're about to go to war with the Far Eastern Soviet Republic. The stupid statist, Yagoda. We will liberate all of these people. All of these poor people. Alright, we're going into the fight. 10 days remain. Fuck, dude, this is rough. Oh, okay. Anarchic anarchy. Pyotr Studa and Ivan Stepanov sat side by side for the last time in bated breath. Two unknowingly would spend their last moments as allies here. Stepanov's cap had been crumbled into a near circular shape, and his sweaty palms would squeeze for as long as his high blood pressure would let him, before relaxing out with a deep, shaky sigh. Studia had taken off the pin that adorned his uniform and let it danced between his fingers, drawing blood often as it pricked and poked at his pale skin. Around them, hundreds of staffers, elected officers, and assembly-goers mimicked their actions, practicing their own nervous tics. Someone should have brought booze. The gentle voice of Tartua was powerful enough to break the fragile silence. Her quip elicited a polite chuckle from some around her, those who had grown tired of sitting by the radio, waiting for it to spring to life and assure them that their fears were unfounded. Silence had recuperated its strength and fell over them once more. Suddenly and mercifully the machine began to crackle to life. Silence turned to static, and from static words, "Give me that, I'll do it. Command." The voice on the other hand faded into static again, eliciting Stepanov to smack the radio across the side. Successful. Currently, we're operating out of Xenia resistance. The audience of the radio whipped their heads around frantically, seeking anyone able to remedy the poor connection. Unconditional surrender. We have won. As all around them, the people exploded out of their seats, embracing whoever was closest. Ivan Stepanov had sat, and Porter's studio stood. Two statues, monuments to anarchism. Stepanov's first instinct to indulge in the celebration was smoldered and smothered by the realization he had no control over Eastern Siberia, no loyal officers to bribe, no assemblies to veto. Studia experienced a similar realization. His message did not extend to the far corners of Magadan. His popular influence had been boxed in by boundaries of Central Siberia. Stepanov moved first, standing suddenly, nearly adjusting his cap to cover his balding head, and set off. Studio wasted no time, following close behind. I think let's see. I think we want to follow, like we've been doing the socialist playthrough, so yeah, it makes sense to keep going socialist. Because we're the Siberia guys. Yeah. Oh shit, Ivan Stepanov, the military guy's gonna be plotting against the... Shit. Wait, none of them like us? Oh no, this is Studia. That's Stepanov? Okay, so here it is, like, they mostly like... I can't really tell. Wait, no, so yeah, the red is me. So yeah, they do prefer me, which is good. I'm just doing all these decisions that, like, promote Suida's, like, shit. A new adventure awaits. The clock chimed once more, indicating it was now 3 o'clock in the morning. Porter Studia threw his glasses against the grandfather clock, sending shards flying across the room. He promised himself he wouldn't let drinking become a habit, but desperate times called for desperate measures. No matter how many cups he hurled, it wouldn't stop the progression of time. It would not delay his departure, slated from just 3 hours into the future. Studio took a deep breath, summoning a belch from deep inside him, and stumbled to his feet, careful to avoid the broken glass. Studio stopped at his kitchen table, where a map for the Far Eastern has been draped over, like a tablecloth. Just looking at it made him sick, or maybe it was the hangover to be. Regardless, he felt like puking. There was so much more to Russia than just what he saw, and he had been seen a lot. Pretender kings and corporate republics, cities of art and Red Army military zones. He had ventured across the entire political spectrum just in his own little slice of Russia. He was familiar with surface-level knowledge of the warlords of the East. He knew of the Tsar, the twin-vozed Yagoda, his greatest enemy. He was even familiar with the one they called the Father, a religious type who sought to synchronize the church with the anarchism. The mere thought of it compounded his already miserable headache. He didn't want to think about what was to the west. Studia slumped down in his chair and stared absent-mindedly at the map. Rozdomsk, huh? Not a humble man. He wasn't just the fascist. Studia began to realize there was no faction of the people in the East. He readjusted his posture and swiped a pen off the adjacent counter and began crossing off states between monarchists, fascists, and statists. It began to settle in for Studia how miserable life was in the East. He stood forced into sobriety and began to pace back and forth. The old Studia had returned, the man who would spend the rest of morning plotting out how he would turn the region around. He took his pen and circled Rodonsk, his first target. All right. It's kind of destroying them. They have zero support. It's all us, I think. But I can also check. We'll be either fighting provisional. Oh yeah, these guys, these military. I think they played them last video or the video before, and then or these guys, which I don't think it's these guys because they kind of seem like they're losing. Malignant cancer. The night after the first day returned from the home project, as Studia had taken to calling it, ended like any other day. Studia 8 revised his speeches and took a moment to enjoy pleasant conversation with Tartua. Her gut feeling about the project never quite went away, but she did her best to push the idea from her head. Studia dropped his pen triumphantly and glanced over at his speech once more. He'd taken to writing them down. At the behest of a record keeper he met in Novosibirsk, important fragments of history, as she called them. Yavingia, come look, this will be an excellent way to kick off our anti-fascist campaign. Yavingia sauntered over to Studia and plucked the paper from his hands. The community is healing, she read over her glasses. Returning refugees is our medicine. Intolerance is the cure. Tatura made a face, raising her eyebrow. Since when did you become a doctor? Porter, rolling his eyes as he sipped from his tea. It's good, she acquiesced. Might make someone cry. The pleasant conversation was cut short by ferocious beating on the door. The two occupants of the house froze, watching the door intently, just waiting for it to fly open. It didn't. There came no more knocks, no more sounds at all. The two looked at each other, making conversation without a word. Slowly, Studio rose from his seat and crept his way to the door. He didn't have a gun, but Tartua kept her pistol close to her side. Studia took a deep breath and threw it open. The door abruptly. No one was there. At the doorstep, however, there was a note. Porter snatched it from the ground and slammed the door in one fluid motion. Tortua watched as Studia scanned over the paper, eyes moving frantically from word to word, as though he had to keep track of them or else they would envelop him. After an eternity of silence, Studia turned to face Yavingia, brow furrowed in confusion. They're just names. It's just a list of names. But Studia paused. Some of the names are crossed out. Studia read and reread the document again and again until he committed it to memory. It clicked with him. Yev, these names, these are the people we brought in this morning. Oh, that's not good. The Black Army's doing some shenanigans of murder. So basically, a town rallied, and 30 people were murdered. And basically, we're gonna figure out who really did this, because we just cannot deal with the freaking getting murdered. Basically, nobody wants to get freaking murdered. Nobody's gonna trust a place where you get murdered at. And also, this is so black. I was trying to set like a command to like station my guys on the rail. I could not even see what the water was and what was the land because it was so dark. So this, the Black Army splintered into factions, and they're basically just dead on arrival. In a modern retelling. Though she never had any of her own, Tortua had always had a soft spot for children. In her eyes, more people ought to act like children, optimistic and curious, but above all else, hopeful. She saw that hope in the eyes of the children that had formed a semicircle around her. The Tomsk Public Library had graciously accepted her offer to showcase her proudest achievement, a children's book. The city had been scarred by the reaction to peaceful demonstrators ordered by Stepanov, but the joy of the children could heal any wound. Okay, children, a slender woman's chipper voice bringing the children into order. Today we have a very special guest reader, Comrade Tortua. What do we say to her? A chorus of children responded with 1,000 different answers, ranging from greetings to expressing their desire to go to the bathroom. The woman smiled at Tortua, rolling her eyes. Okay, let's calm down. We're going to be very quiet and very respectful while she reads, okay? Various indications of agreement came from the roar of the horde of children. With that, Tortua opened her storybook and flipped to the first page. There once was a mouse named Gregory. Every day he woke up and made his way to school. Mice don't go to school, one child cried. I've never seen a mouse go to school. Tortua smiled through the interruption. Only a child would see the need to correct a fantasy. Ah, but this is a world where they do. The response seemed to placate the child, and Tortua was free to continue. One day while on the playground, Gregory had bumped into a Fidor, a huge dragon who used her size to bully all of the other school children. "Give me your lunch, little mouse," Porter thundered. Gregory was scared. Porter could swallow him whole. Gregory reached into his backpack to hand over his lunch when another student ran up beside him. Tatua licked her finger, turning the still stuck together pages. A girl he knew from class ran to Gregory's side. "Stop," she said. "Why does she deserve your lunch? That's yours." The girl turned to Fyodor, standing at the foot of the dragon. "Just because you're stronger doesn't mean you need to push us around." The scene had attracted the attention of many of the other school children, who joined her, standing beside her. "You may be able to pick on us alone, but together we are stronger than you." Tatua gently closed the book and smiled back at the children. Their smiles was all the reward she needed. Oh, that's really cute. And we'll show you that my guy, this dude won. Mitter Porter Suida. Sensory overload. It had not been 2 minutes, and Stepanov had already begun to hyperventilate. His clothes and uniforms had melded into one towering mountain that, if his pudgy hands could climb, would let him see clean across the Urals. Were his hands really that pudgy? He looked down at them, and then into the mirror, and then down and up and down and up and down, and then he saw a caged animal confined behind an ever-shrinking cage. He screamed, a blood-curdling plea for her life. One could never imagine originated from the scheming general, a man of poise, rendered helpless as he fought for the clothes to get in the fucking bag. They wouldn't. Frustrated as a child after hours of attempting to pound a square hole in a round hole peg, Stepanov felt tears well in his eyes, and he had to wipe them away. The moisture caught a glimpse of his pudgy hands, and his blood pressure soared. He plopped helplessly on his magnificent bed, stolen from the Rukzuk palace, stolen like everything else he had, and he sobbed, and he sobbed, and he sobbed from his bedroom balcony. He could see them all, their faces, the rage instilled in them through his actions. General Ivan Stepanov had been reduced to a blubbering mess and couldn't get any worse. The shrill scream of the phone temporarily snapped Stepanov out of his emotions. The phone, his lifeline to the outside world, rang off the hook, and once in his life he was relieved to hear it. Stepanov sniffled, wiped his eyes, and ripped the phone off the receiver. "They're here," he cried. "They're here. Surya and thousands of them. I know why they're here. They've come to kill me." Stepanov panted heavily, waiting lifetimes. He did not have for their voice at the other end to tell him it would be okay. And when the voice came, it was his secretary, just calling to remind him that she would be on leave, visiting family. Stepanov reacted violently, throwing the phone back into its cradle. Stepanov shambled to the window, where he saw he was surrounded. No scheme, no plan. The game wasn't fun anymore. Russia wasn't worth it. He would resign, give up, fold, whatever. He wouldn't be enough to satiate the angry mob he had weaponized against countless others. Stepanov took a deep breath, gently unpacked his bag, and sat on his bed, facing the door, ready to receive the prize he had earned. Here lies the king, smothered by his own house of cards. So, yep. And Stepanov will be retired, and there will be no more despotism. Bam. Oh, nice. I think, yeah, now Tattoo is in here. He's really good. Speaking to the shaken people. "Your coat, comrade Studia." Yevhengia draped Poiter in a coat of bare skin, one far too large for a man of his stature. The revolutionary looked straight on, his mind elsewhere. Yevhengia circled from his back and stood in front of him. She strained to find Poiter inside of his eyes. Her face dropped. "Poiter, I understand you're torn." She placed her wrinkled hands on his chest. "We've come too far now. You have to speak to them. I know you will. You will always do the right thing. Poiter, you aren't him." The phrase struck a chord with Poiter, his face twitching slightly. "Thank you, comrade Tatua." Poiter pulled the coat tighter around himself as he moved for the door to the balcony. Pyotr gripped the doorknob before him as he stepped out. He could hear their cheers as they sung his name, demanding to see Comrade Studia, defender of the revolution, against the snake General Stepanov. Poiter took in a deep breath, turned the knob, stepped out into the brisk morning air. He nodded politely as he waited for the roaring applause to end. It felt different. that this was the treatment fascists received and czars envied. Why was he here? The answer was in admiration of the people below him. They chose him. They trusted him. He was not to let them down. Comrades, he called, today we passed the second test. With our combined might, we toppled the authoritarian states of Siberia. We've left them battered and bruised, yet we must remain vigilant. It is time to build our own anarchy, free from the state inside and out of the territory. Poiter found his footing, continuing to rally the people to his sides as he laid out the core message of the anarchist movement. If only for a moment, the weight of the fear lifted from his shoulders. There's too much work ahead. We will continue the revolution. An unfortunate reality. Psychopath, you moron, you absolute fucking idiot. Valentiv struggles to find the words to describe Androni Mushkerunko, slamming a fist on the desk. Comrade Studia in frustration. Poiter, you've got to recognize this is what it is. Suicide. Studia felt he could trust Comrade Valentiv. He had always done in the best interest of the people. Of course. He thought that the same of Ivan Stepanov. Comrade, you and I have both fought for Comrade Mushrenko's right to speak and to purpose his plans to the assembly. Valentiv brushed back his hair and leaned back in his chair in disbelief. Mushrenko sat erect, his lips curled in a smile. Thank you, Comrade Studia. I appreciate you can recognize true talent when you see it. Mushrenko shifted in his seat, leaning towards Poiter. From my service, I've learned that the intellectuals, they are excellent in sitting in ivory towers, shouting commands down at us. They know nothing of practical warfare. A nuclear weapon is a weapon, just like any other. We don't ask scientists to assemble our artillery. We ask the people. Poiter, not everything is the people's struggle, Valentiv pleaded. I implore you, leave this to experts, for the sake of the people. Not everything is the people's struggle, but this is. We'll have the individuals making nuclear weapons. I don't see how this could ever be bad. So since I chose the people's route, we have to like meet with the communes. And also sorry for the audio being kind of trash. My fan's on and I can't really turn it off. So I just gave these guys some lead-laced clothing. I don't know if wearing lead, actually I just thought about that. I was thinking it'd block the radiation, but might give you lead poisoning as well. And it's the people's project. Everybody needs to know that we're making this nuclear bomb. It's very goofy. Even me, there was humor in it. The sign, let your voice ring out through the atom. Poiter finally went off the deep end, or maybe he jumped in the water long ago and finally pulled down the rest of us to his level. Poiter played fair enough, though. He couldn't rag on Poiter too hard. Wait, what? Poiter played fair enough. He couldn't rag. Oh no, that was what he was saying to Poiter. Okay. Whether out of curiosity or for entertainment, he took his seat near the back of the tightly packed room, producing a decaying cigarette from his jacket pocket. He let the paper hang carelessly from his mouth as he patted himself down in search of a lighter. An older woman climbed on stage, assisted by some Black Army hotshot. She hobbled up to the microphone. Test, test, are we good? The people recoiled from the feedback. Good, she said cheerily. I want to extend my gratitude to those who came out tonight. This project is of the utmost importance. That being said, I won't take too much of your time. I know there's a storm coming in. So if there's someone who'd like to stay... Yes, I've got something to say, he grinned, looking up at the man who rose to speak. This'll be good. Have you considered how entrenched privilege is in war? The construction of atomic weapons is the highest form of classism. Butcher couldn't restrain himself from laughing hysterically, drawing angry looks from the room. Is there something funny about your comrade's comment? The elder woman called from the stage. No, Butcher continued to laugh. He said that nuclear war was classist. I'm as much of an anarchist as the next guy, but come on, this is just ridiculous. What's ridiculous is that you dragged yourself out of your house looking as you do, and you still have it to the gall to insult your fellow comrades. The woman on the stage retorted. Porter stopped laughing, sulking back into his chair. What were you saying, comrade? To be honest, I don't think... I would also probably, laugh a little bit if somebody was being nuclear war is classist in itself, because I know people that, do that. Basically everything is classist. Almost everything. Well, a lot of things are, but, they bring it into, eating a donut is classist. Hey, Union boys will win the battles. Run away, run away, run away. But yeah, we'll give them some stuff they want. So we're just trying to be good guys here, trying to make sure people don't die in uranium mines. In my opinion, it is my most sincere belief that the struggle for freedom has last reached its climax. Anarchism is an ideology. Ideology is a fight. Is a never-ending battle against hierarchy. When people feel secure is when they must be most vigilant. No, that wasn't right. Poiter scribbled the words out. The anarchist struggle was one of unity. The people standing together will ultimately be victorious over the state. Fuck. He slammed the book shut. He hated not having answers. He'd figure it out later just when he needed to. A knock at the door. Poiter, I was wondering if you had a few moments. He let out a heavy sigh. Yes, come in. What can I do for you? Well, you know I'm not one to speak my mind. I really think you should consider this. I'm scared, Yvingia. Is that what you wanted to hear? I don't know what I'm supposed to let the people handle it. Nobody said anarchy would be easy, so yeah. He's scared of, I guess, nuclear annihilation, probably. That'd probably be what you'd be scared of. Or just not knowing the answers of what, to guide the people. Another day older and deeper in debt. You see, the miner's word muffled by his mouth full of food. I know a guy who knew a guy who was there when they evaporated that American island. He took a gulp from a large cup of carbonated soft drink. Guy was total nut. The workman belched. Anyways, this guy I knew back from the West. I haven't heard from him in a few years. But you know, he was super obsessed with nuclear weaponry and all. Well, that entailed. He left with a list of materials and even planned out on a quarry. Poiter's face crinkled in disgust. He didn't know what project wasn't the most importance. It was certainly would have been anywhere else in Russia than this. I appreciate you stepping forward in this information, comrade. You're furthering a very noble cause. Well, you know, whoa. I don't remember anything about just handing it over. There's gotta be a little something in for me too, right? Greed does not look good on you, comrade. I suggest you drop this charade. Oh, come on. Fine. You can shit up one hand and put in your ideology in the other and see what fills up faster. The man erupted from his seat. Wait. Let's just talk this out. Guys. I just want to give the guy some money, because why not? We're already dying anyways, and fucking... We're not actually too far in debt or anything. We're just not making too much money, it doesn't feel like. Because expensive. Yeah, okay. We'll invest more into funding, because it takes only 25 pp. Okay, so we started weapon testing. Green across the board. Poiter sat far away from the site. In the middle of the forest clearing was the accumulation of months of hard work and the best talent Russia had to offer. Comrade Studia held a pair of binoculars in his shaky hand. There were many big steps on the way from the Siberian Black Army's journey, from petty band of ruffians to a legitimate community and a powerful force in the region. The first deal between himself and Stepanov was the War of the Statelets of Central Siberia, taking on the statists in the east. All of them could have been for the moment. The whole movement fell apart. This was another one of those pivotal moments, he supposed. Comrade Studia, this is Mushenko. Poiter deciphered from the static of the walkie-talkie. The weapon is primed. I hope you are a respectable distance. I would also recommend you cover your eyes. Even at the distance, you must certainly be blinded. He trembled as he put the radio to his mouth. Understood, he said, not allowing his fear to show through his voice. Congratulations, boys and girls. Today, the Russia people will have stood up. 3. Poiter ducked in under the brick wall he was sitting on. 2. He braced for the sound of the atom splitting. 1. He clenched tight, praying that he could trust his comrades to provide him a safe distance. Detonate. He hugged the wall, ready to feel an extreme wave of heat rush over him. There was no such bang, no boom, no sound of the atom conquered by man. There was silence. Cautiously, Poiter rose from his spot, peeked over the wall. Absolutely nothing. No cloud, no trees flying off in the distance from the force of the blast. No nothing. He grabbed the radio. Comrade Mushenko, what the hell just happened? Well, nothing seems... Back to the drawing board. It failed. Hey, it's not the worst. They tested. I probably could have got him if I went this path, maybe. But I just wanted to see what would happen if you give a bunch of people just access to nuclear research and shit. Both sides of the story. The rules were simple: no attacking on personal matters, respect each other's opinion, and be civil. Of course, the simplicity of these rules left a lot to be desired, as anarchists and men of many different political orientations flooded Novosibirsk Commune Opera Hall for a night of good-natured debate. Studia sat back of the hall, watching the debate unfold, and duly noting the good points made by both sides. I understand the Nazi mindset, I really do, but I do not understand how you can support the actions of these men after they have murdered so many and left so many innocent dead in their wake. The fascists gave a smug smile. Would you kill for your freedom, for anarchy as you call it? Yes, as I would for my freedom. National liberation. Some will die, but if it means a racially pure utopia, then it ultimately is worth it. Every death, every child, every child. And sir, have you ever considered that perhaps race is but a construction? That nationalism is a lie cooked up by your ancestors? Ah, I see you have the mindset of a Jew. Only a fool would deny that certain nations are superior to others. After all, do Africans yet have Volkswahl? The anarchists scoffed. The debate continued. The Jews, I tell you. Well, it's not like they kind of got fucked, to be honest. Most African did, because they were not really anywhere where like you can really set up a good like empire, except for like the Mali stuff, and even then, I don't know, kind of got fucked over by the shitty ass king that wasted so much of their fucking money. The liberations of a man with everything. Dr. Durgov carelessly dropped his bags next to him. There it was, the beautiful shimmering sea. Somewhere far beyond it sat a city on a hill, a place where men could be free and civil. Not just one or the other. It didn't matter now, whatever led to the fragmentation of Russia and the rise of anarchy. The question was easier asked than answered. So Dr. Durgov simply didn't. He would be more than content to board a boat and leave this madness behind him, but I figured I'd find you here, came Miss Durgava from behind. She was not Dr. Durgava or Mrs. Durgava. No, she fancied herself Durgava the Free, the anarchist. Dr. Durgov nodded, still facing out to the sea. You've come to join me, Natalia? Like hell. Dr. Durgov chuckled. I figured as much. The pair stood in silence for some time. A daughter watching her father's back. A whistle blew in the distance, breaking the silence. I should be going. You should. Why did you come, Natalia? To mock me, to see me off? Dr. Durgov whipped out around in his rage, facing his daughter. She was not smirking or attempting to hide a laugh. Instead, tears ran down the young woman's face. Dr. Durgov stepped to console his daughter, but she recoiled back, stepping away from him. Her father opened his mouth to say something, anything he could, but was cut off by yet another blast of the whistle. He looked at his daughter and back to the sea. Dr. Durgov collected his bags and made for the dock. Ah, what? That's fucking sad. Why did that give me bonuses from just seeing that family get torn apart? What the fuck? Taking a step back. Porter, you can't be serious. Yevgenia bellowed, following behind Studia as he marched down the halls of the General Assembly, Valentiv not far behind. Porter continued to walk briskly to the main meeting room of the assembly, his oversized coat almost flying off of him as he marched to his destination. I'm not doing this to spite you, Yevgenia. This is a decision long in the making, not simply on a whim. I've always been wary of the General Assembly. Nothing is to stop another stepping off from a rising. Valentiv hastened his pace, stopped in front of Porter, grabbing him by the shoulders. Comrade Studia, I can't let you do this. I understand where you're coming from, but I can assure you that evolving power any further is not going to make anyone's life easier. The General Assembly is fine as it is. Porter shrugged Valentiv's hands off of him and began to formulate a retort, but Yevgenia raced next to Valentiv to put her hands on his chest. Porter, please. I know what you're trying to do, what you think is the best, but consider the implications before you act. This will make assisting those who need it even harder. Porter took a step back, letting his friend's hands fall down her sides. He furrowed his brow, stared at the pair before him. The General Assembly was too far powerful for its own good, but maybe they made a solid argument. He shifted his weight, troubled by the conundrum. I will fight against tyranny no matter where. So yeah, there's no such thing as harmless power. We'll be even more decentralized. I personally am on the other people's side, but I don't know. It's just kind of the path we're going. So, like, I don't think this guy would go to the bare minimum and hurt the socialism support. But yeah, I don't know. This guy is very staunch. I think you at least need like an assembly or something like a grand. I understand maybe cutting back a little of some of the things it can do, but it needs, not to sound like a statist over here, but even like for helping people in need and stuff. Like if it's so, if there's no central government, not even government assembly, it's harder to get what you need if you're like very far away from each other. On your own in the wind, Sergei bounded his foot against the rotting wooden floor. He grimaced, looking out to the window by the fireplace, of course. Outside snow fell like tears from a weeping God. Perhaps God was brought to tears by the past 20 years. Could we blame him? Sergei knew his God was not only all-powerful, but also a caring God, one who wanted each and every one of his children to not only survive, but thrive. Certainly no people had suffered more than those who traversed his life in hand with God. Even if God was enraged or mournful, whatever, his frozen tears did little to help. The storm was terrible. The whole house could be buried. Yeah, so the oldest filled the radio, his second son adjusting it. He called out relief hours ago, but no one came. Sergei added another log to the fire, to himself. Sergei's oldest son threw headphones off his set. Nobody's listening. There's no point in this. The young man marched off to his corner of the room. Sergei's wife shot him a worried look. Even his son was overreaching. The prospecting of being trapped in the wilderness with 3 boys is horrifying. As if on cue, the radio crackled to life. Sergei, did you call for help? I'm near. Oh, cool. Okay. So I thought it was just going to be like, yeah, you guys are kind of fucked now that you don't have anybody to help you out. Okay, see, the thing is, I would do these focuses, but it's, look how bad that is. That is really bad. And even this gets worse. -7, I cannot win a war. Yeah, I don't have enough days, so I can do this one and then just have to wait for the rest and then go down the things. Objection. Pointer slammed his hands on the table before him. Sweat dripped from his forehead. General Stepanov was a tyrant in disguise, hiding his true intentions. Deep inside of our most treasured institution. Pointer reacted his hands and put them against his cheek for emphasis. I was fooled. We were fooled. I figured him a friend. He paused, watching the reactions of the masses gathered in the General Assembly. Despite what we may have thought about General Stepanov, the fact is that he had too much power and position, something that we failed to recognize until it was far too late. He made eye contact with all his comrades. The next words would shape the future of the territory. We cannot risk ever happening again. He straightened out the papers on his desk. All evidence used against Stepanov. I recommend the total obliteration of the Black Army in its current form. Poiter looked out the silent jury. The people exchanged glances. What was he saying? The people said through their eyes, I don't know. Others responded with a shake of the head, but it doesn't sound good. Comrade Studia tapped on the table as he waited. He scoffed to himself. Usually he could never quiet them down. Now, when he needs them to speak, they won't. Finally, a young man arose from his feet, adjusted his hat, and spoke in a shaky voice. They're not calling for the death of the men and women who have volunteered to protect us, are you, Comrade Studia? He stared deeply into his eyes. The boy answered without blinking. I have always called for each death of the state, comrade. Called for death. The quiet General Assembly erupted into chaos, as it always did. Poiter beat his hand on the table, calling the hall to order. What should we do then? Let them build power? Wait for them to take control of this territory? The room, though divided into many camps, seemed to agree on one proposal, allowing the Black Army to redeem itself through labor. Poiter considered the people's decision, but also, though of his concern, many more of Stepanov's men hid in the Black Army. He took a deep breath and responded, giving his verdict. To defend Russia, we must remove all avenues of power. Oh, that hurts so bad. These are such bad debuffs. Wait. No, please. Oh, no. That's going to be really bad. Okay, we can check. There it is, right there. It's going to get even worse. Fuck. Taking pause. I'm not done, Yevhengia. Poiter took a deep into his vision. He sawed off a piece of the steak and plopped it into his mouth. He let his eyebrows rest on the table, arms erect, fork in one hand, knife in the other. I know, Poiter. Euvengia Tortua somberly said, toying with her side dish. He spun his utensils. What is this? Oh yeah, just like basically how he's gonna eliminate all this stuff. Do what your heart tells you to do. The people demand justice. You may utter your departing words, barked one of the members of the Comrade Studios task force against internal status. Shura muttered the words under his breath in unison with the man holding the gun. How many times had he said it? Held the rifle, taken the shot. How many times did he go back to his home after exterminating his enemies, wash the blood from his hands, and make passionate love to his wife? The number, even if it existed, was unknown to Shura. His career was to kill and to act like he'd never seen the end of a rifle himself. He could try and say something witty, maybe exercise a quip or two. He had been saving. He could try to say something depressing, maybe get the executioner to flinch. That was victory, right? In truth, his experience taught him the last words, no matter how meaningful or impactful, meant nothing to the bullet torpedoing toward him. He remained silent as the soldier before him cocked the gun. He pointed it at his head, kneeling the man. Goddamn, dude. Shura embraced the bang of the rifle, but something was wrong. The executioner must have lost his balance while aiming. The bullet lodged itself neatly into his chest. Against the best judgment of his own personal will, he screamed. He let out a visceral scream from somewhere deep within him, previously hidden. Maybe it was the scream of all those he had killed before, bottled up inside him, and now set free. Without warning, another bang came, and the screaming stopped. Oh, that's not good. Oof. I feel bad. I should have done the other path. I did not. Oof. That's bad. That's bad. I thought he was going to, like, demolish. I didn't think he was going to murder all of them. And yeah, we'll dissolve the Security Council. Because, yeah, I don't feel like empowering the Assembly. Just after I destroyed the Assembly would make much sense. And this is basically just the Security Council that killed all those guys. And, like, stop them. And then, they're all just gone now. So we're now just got a little citizens army. And terrible fucking army debuffs that I have no idea how we're gonna. Oh, minus 10 org. That's really bad. That's really, really bad. Fuck. I think I need to literally get rid of my tanks. I don't think my tanks can, like, live with minus 10 org. Like, I'll leave them for now, but yeah, I'm stopping the production of any more because, yeah, it's really bad. I'm just gonna need, like, basically an infantry army. Yeah, that seems good. Oh, and I'm getting so much trade from, I think, whatever's happening in the Middle East, the oil crisis. Very nice. It's almost like real life. Wow. Art really does imitate life. I need to know, how the fuck is the Somali Republic beating Ethiopia? Wait, like, what is the population range? Because that's like, doesn't Ethiopia has like a fuck ton amount of people comparatively? Yes, they do. I wonder, I guess they just got shafted even harder or something. Because Italy took control of them, I guess. Oh yeah, World War II, obviously, Germany won. And to continue, like, I'm doing the path stuff. We're doing the demilitarization resolution and get even less division attack and military supervision. Oh, fuck. Alright, it's time for the war. I don't. It's gonna be very rough. though he wondered if one could separate ideology from poetry. Was not each poem, each story, an insight into the author, a window for others to peek inside of, but never to answer? Freedom has been found, the history of the Russian revolutionary movement. Poitras scribbled out another title. Therein laid his problem. Poitras had his ideas swirling round in his mind, but struggled to assemble them, to make himself make sense of what was going to make sense to others. If he did not make sense to himself, comradeship, short and simple. The title seemed fitting. Poitras thought of the most influential works of the last century, the books that brought the world to its knees: Mein Kampf, Imperium, the Communist Manifesto. That's not what his book would be. No, Poitras' writing promised to extend a hand to the world and assist it rising to its feet. Poitras put his pen to paper, spurred on by a sudden wave of inspiration. Words began to flow from his pencil until the introduction was completed. Poitras read it back to himself. Chapter 1, The Working Men and Women of Kansk. Oh, that's very sweet. And yeah, we finally finished it. And that was oh, I finally did it. Huzzah. It's probably one of my longer videos. I don't know though, because I'm going to cut down probably a decent amount of it, but still. Woof. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day or night.